Welcome, everyone, welcome to the Stories of Vermilion, Ohio. This is the oral history series presented by the Vermilion Area Archival Society in collaboration with the Vermilion History Museum and the Ritter Public Library. My name is Rich Tarrant. I'm the curator of the Vermilion History Museum. The program is going to be videotaped, so please turn off your cell phones. Most of the people here tonight know who our guest is, but I'm going to say his name. This is Bob Kyle, in case you haven't met him yet. And as we go, look at this. And that's going to seem kind of odd to you, Bob, when I start off here asking you questions, but I'm going to ask you again just what I said. I'm going to ask you your full name.
My full name? Not an alias, right?
Right,
Okay.
right. No alias.
It's Robert Leroy Kyle, and don't dole too long on the Leroy. I hate that middle name, but that's the way it is.
Okay, Leroy.
Thanks a million.
Where were you born in and what year?
Okay, I was born on Huron Street in Elyria, Ohio, and believe it or not, a few years ago we went there, and the house is still standing, so I took a picture of it, but I didn't bring it with me. It's not in very good shape, so anyhow, that's the story.
One of the things I mean to ask you too is about the family itself. How many boys and girls, and where were you in the line of?
In my immediate family?
Yes, yes.
Okay. There was, my sister was the oldest, Evelyn. This is her two daughters sitting in front here, Lynn and Beth, and they have one more sister. There were three of them in there, and then Lloyd. Most everyone in Vermilion knows Lloyd Kyle, or knew Lloyd Kyle. He had two sons and one daughter, and myself, my wife's Nancy, and we had three children. I guess you'd call them children after 50. Yeah, yeah, and they were two daughters and one son. The son is the youngest, Dennis. Debbie's the oldest, and Sue's the middle. And Chuck passed away just recently. When was that? 2001. And he was married to Ducky Shields, and they had no children, so it was just the two. So we had four in our family.
Where was your dad born?
He was born in a small town close to, or probably in Akron area called Kenmore, and I think it was swallowed up by Akron right today. And as far as my dad goes, he grew up in Kenmore. He was, when he was maybe a teenage, he was a soda jerk, and the place was owned by a Greek guy that talked Greek most of the time, and so Dad learned about 6 or 8 words, and he used them all the time. I don't think he knew exactly what they meant, but anyhow.
Was your mother from the same area?
No, she was from Chatham, Ohio, and they make maple syrup there, as a matter of fact. So she was a farmer's daughter. There were 6 girls and twin boys. The twin boys died when they were 2 years old from pneumonia, and the girls, all of them are all gone, of course, now. They all had families, but too many to name.
Do you know how your mom and dad met?
No, that's something that I really don't know. She was a farmer's daughter, and she worked at a telephone company for a short time, and I could probably guess that they met somewhere around that area, around that office area. Dad was in the oil business and mechanical business. He had his several different garages that he owned and operated, uh, and that made him move, or he moved to the Ashland area from Akron, and he was a manager of Columbia Refining Company, and uh, he was trained to set up gas stations, because back in the, what would it be, about 20s, cars were just coming in volume, I should say, and so he had to hire people to manage the stations and all that sort of thing, pump the gas, and that's what he did. That's
That
in
explains a
whole
lot
area.
about your family already.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about your immediate family, or your family. Where did you meet your wife?
Well, that runs into my musical times. So,
Well,
but
go ahead. We can go back and forth. You can go ahead if
Okay.
you want.
No, but I met, long short story. I met her at the Palladium in Illyria. I don't know if any of you've heard of the Palladium, but it's all gone now. But it was a good place to meet girls and girls to meet boys, and they served 3-2 beer, which wasn't too powerful, and they had square dances that Nan and I liked to dance, and all of a sudden we were square dancing together. And I played there. I used to play the bass fiddle. That was my co-occupation, I guess, and so I played the bass there with some groups. That's what it all happened.
Can you still play the bass fiddle? I'm just interested.
I don't have a bass. I sold it a few years ago, but I did play with the Vermilion band, the dance band.
Wow. It's very interesting. Where'd you go to school?
Well, we got here in 1938, and I was 6 years old, and my birthday was January, so I had to wait till that fall to go to first grade. And at that time, the State Street School, the one that's dilapidated right now, was just kind of winding down, and so I went to first grade, and Jane Buck was our teacher, and then in the second grade, they were just constructing the new grade school. Let me back up. That school was from when I went to school in 1938. It was from grades 1 to grade 6, and the high school on South Street was already there, and they were adding an addition to the South Street high school to take care of the grade kids, so they'd all be in one building. And so the second grade, we started at the State Street School, and about 2 months through, and it was still fairly warm then, they had all the kids grab their chairs, and we went from, if everybody knows where South Street School was or is, building, we all had a long line, and everybody carried their chairs from the State Street School to the South Street School, and that's how they got the furniture moved. But and then from there on. But Jane Buck was a great teacher and a great lady, and she, for some odd reason, she transferred when we went from first grade to second grade. She was our teacher at the second grade also. And then a few years after that, she retired from teaching and went into the Army, and ended up as a career girl, and ended up as a major, as a matter of fact. So she
She was kind of famous.
Yeah, smart.
You remember any of your other teachers that you can just...
There's, I got some notes here, so
Sure.
these are the teachers that really that stick out in my mind, as you say. One thing that I want to say that there was in Vermilion schools back then, there was like 1,400 kids, which is not that many, but there were 4 people, teachers and office heads that ran that whole school. Now they've got, I'm sure, lots more than that. But C.K. DeWitt was our superintendent, and he was superintendent for quite a few years. Before that, I guess he was football coach and several different things. Willis Gebhardt, he was principal, and he lived to be about 104, I think,
Yep.
in that area. And Margaret Ball was the office head, and Charlie Barber was head custodian. And
Was that old Charlie or the young Charlie?
well, I was there when old Charlie was there also,
Okay.
and then young Charlie took over. But between Marguerite Ball and DeWitt and Gebhardt, they did everything administration wise that it takes a lot more people to do now. And for instance, DeWitt would purchase the buses and different things like, different duties like that. Harold Flanders was the shop teacher. And just a side note, my Uncle John worked at the dealership also, and or he was partners, as a matter of fact, when they first started in '38. And he came from. You got to remember that in the '30s was just coming out of the Great Depression, and so John was a carpenter, and sometimes he would go out and somebody wanted him to do something, he would do it. Well, Harold Flanders was a carpenter also, and in the summertime they would get together and they would remodel houses, build them, and so forth. But getting back to my school time, I could do no wrong in the shop. I mean, I'd get straight A's and all that, because they knew each other, and that was kind of nice. That's okay.
You remember any of the other guys who were and girls who went to school with you?
Oh yeah,
Some of
I remember all of them. You know why?
No.
We had only 39 kids in our class, so I can remember them all. There were some that stood out. C.K. DeWitt's younger son, Jack DeWitt, he graduated with us, and I can still remember playing with him up in his bedroom at 6 years old, and we see each other today even. And we're both. We don't play. The only thing we play is golf together. So. Jim Moses was one of the star guys, and there's a story about Jim. In 49, the winter of 49-50, there was about 8 or 9 kids that went out. The ice was good that night, and it was in the winter time in February, 1st of February, I think. And the ice was really good on the lake out by Minnewaga area, west of Vermilion, and so they wanted to get a ice skating party going, and I was supposed to be part of it, but Dad made me wash cars that night, so I couldn't go with him. But that was the night when there was, like I say, eight of them ice skating, and all of a sudden the wind switched from the north to the south, and before they knew it, they were on a cake of ice skating with water all the way around them. Bob Rathman and Jim Moses saved those 8 kids that were on there, and by Jim fell off the ice, and he was a big guy and a football player, so he was well trained and had a lot of muscle and fortitude, and he swam probably according to them about 100 yards in from the cake of ice to land, and he went out to the Callahans and got a hold of Mr. Callahan, and he had a rowboat there, and they got him all into the rowboat and got him out safely, but that was a real close one.
Yeah, he received some national awards for that.
Yes, he did. He served. He had a national. As a matter of fact, the article was in San Francisco Register or
Sure.
whatever it was.
When did you graduate? What year?
1950. Long time ago.
Where did you live when you were in Vermilion? I know where the last place down here on Decatur Street. But
I wanted to say
yeah, go
one
right
thing. We had graduation. We graduated at the South Street School, and they had out, if the weather was good, which it was that year. It was June 2nd. We graduated out on the football field, and there was quite a few people there, and it was kind of windy, and I was scheduled to play my clarinet. I played Dizzy Fingers. I don't know if that's an old song, but anyhow, I won't sing it for you. Don't have to worry about that. But the wind was strong enough, and I still had my tassel cap on, and all of a sudden the cap went flying. And Jimmy Huffman was our band director at that time, and he gave me a pat on the back afterwards, and he says, "You never missed a beat." So, another classmate I wanted to mention was George Radosevich. I think he started the photojournal.
He was the first editor of the photojournal.
Yeah. Okay.
He was working for a corporation, but yeah.
He was in our class, and he was a football quarterback, and he was a star quarterback. Bob Rathman was another one. He was a football player, and him and I kind of grew up as like brothers together. And I guess that's it. Go ahead.
I think Bob got a scholarship for football to go to college.
Yeah, at Purdue, as a matter of fact. Old Purdue.
I'll go back to where you lived in Vermilion, places, homes.
Okay. When the family moved here, we lived right by the railroad tracks on Washington Street, and they rented that. There were 2 families, Uncle John and his family. There was 5 of them, and there was 6 of us in our family.
Which side of the tracks?
It'd be on the south side, on the southeast side.
Okay.
And that was only for maybe 2-3 months, and then when Dad and Uncle John bought the dealership and the building from a fellow by the name of Charlie Jones, and as soon as Charlie moved, there was going back. There was a house right next to the dealership the dealership, if you don't know where it was, it is now the courthouse on Decatur Street. And the building is still there. Everything is there. All they did was veneered it and put a roof on it, peak roof. So it's every time I go in there, I can think of all the stuff I used to get into when I wasn't supposed to. But where was I?
You're just talking about where you lived.
Oh, okay. There was a house right next there. Right now, the parking lot is north of the dealership, and in that same location was our home. And when they decided to make it into well, it was quite a few different uses, but anyhow, the house got raised, and that was another one we lived in, and then when we built I keep saying we because I was part of the family, but Dad was the professor on the whole thing. But when we were going to sell that, we moved over to Jefferson Street at the west end of Ohio Street in Jefferson, and stayed there, rented the place, and until we built the lake house out behind what was Kyle Motors dealership. And then at that point we moved out to the lake house, so that was total. Plus, when I was married, of course, we built a small house right side of the dealership.
Wow. I want to get back to the dealership later on. I want to ask you some other questions in the meantime, because it's interesting, that building down there, but we'll get back to that.
Okay.
I want to ask you about your friends. You've mentioned some of them. Bob Rathbun, for instance, you mentioned. Were there any other people that you remember when you were young that you were hanging with?
Hang out with?
Yeah.
Well, Bob Rathbun and I were Boy Scouts, and we'd ride our bicycles every summer to scout camp and stay there a couple weeks and then ride them back again.
Wow.
That was clear out south of town. I said Jack DeWitt. Don Scythe he was a good friend. Actually, we were all good friends. We didn't have any bad friends in school.
Okay, I want to get to your musical abilities here.
Oh boy, here we go.
What were the instruments you could play? Or do play, I
Well,
should say.
okay. To begin with, most kids, whenever they get into music in school, they usually start about 6th grade, which I did. And at that time, why you start out with a tonette, or I guess there's another word for it. Recorder.
Yeah.
Recorder. Thank you. And after that, I went to a clarinet, and I played the clarinet all through high school until I got to about 11th grade, and for some odd reason, here comes a guy with a bass fiddle, and it intrigued me. So I bought it for something like $25 from him. It was really cheap. And so anyhow, I took lessons on the bass, learned how to play it, and of course I had been taught to read music through school. So, but I kept on playing clarinet because in the marching band you're playing an instrument. You can't play a bass fiddle and march too. So I could never figure out how to do that. Anyhow, and then in junior and senior years, the clarinet and then the bass fiddle I played. There was Karl Kovacs was a grade or two below me, but he played saxophone, and Miss Kavanik, Adele Kavanik, some of you may have known her. She played piano, and it was Kovac, Kyle, and Kavanik, so it was the three Ks.
KKK.
KKK, yeah. without the anyhow.
Wearing sheets.
So we played for several school dances, and so that was that. But should I talk about college and all
Sure,
that?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I took my clarinet to college, and I took the bass fiddle to college. When I went to college, I bought a used. We had to buy all our cars. Dad wouldn't give us any of, so we had to buy them, which was good for us. But anyhow, I bought a 39 Buick Century, and it had a real high between the back of the driver's seat and the roof was high enough to get that bass fiddle into the car, so I could take the bass fiddle to GM Tech, which was in Flint, Michigan, and I was always the driver, a taxi driver, because some of the guys didn't have cars that went up there with me. So there was like 4 guys, luggage, and a bass fiddle. And if you can, we got all of about 12 miles to the gallon on that car. But anyhow, we had fun with, besides curriculum, we had fun with the music and so forth. After that, I want to go into okay. After that, I graduated from GM Tech as a dealership manager, and at least they teach you everything about dealerships and how to run them, manage them, build them, and how the cars are put together, all that. It was a 2-year program, summer and winter, and I graduated from that in 1953 in August. Either July or August, there was a armistice. No, it wasn't an armistice, but anyhow, with Korea, the
Right.
Korean War was
Over, more or
over
less.
with. Yeah, and so I got my papers. I was deferred until that time after I graduated from college, and I got my papers, and I went into the greetings from Uncle Sam. I went into the Army on December 7th. I heard that if you try out to be in the band, what you got to do is they put you into, after basic training, they put you in a little booth, and if you don't know this from somebody else that's been there already, they listen to you outside while you're warming up. If you play America the Beautiful or whatever, Sentimental Journey, they kick you out, because that's not the way to warm up. You got to go up and down the scale and chords and all that sort of thing. So then they know that you're at least a semi-pro player. And so I did all that beforehand. I learned all that, and I was accepted in the Army band. At that point, it was just a band school, and you have to learn how to play the Army way. There's a right way and a wrong way and an Army way, they always said. And so that's what I did. And after I was done, I had all the shots to go to Tokyo. Sick for 3 days from the shots, and I got out to they flew me out to San Francisco. At that time, they didn't ship them over by air, overseas by air. They did it by boat, and so I went to the debarkation point, San Francisco, and there was a 22nd Army band stationed there, and they needed a clarinet player. So I guess I didn't make it to Tokyo. And there I met all kinds of, or a lot of different great musicians. Some of them after their they went on to play with big bands like Stan Kenton and so forth. Russ Martino had his own orchestra. He's matter of fact, he's alive and well and still out in Las Vegas at 87. Him and I are the same age, and he had his own band, and then he played at the Riviera and the different places. So that was probably the highlight of my life, because we were playing all the time. We played clarinet to bring the guys in and out of the port, and then at night we had a 5-piece combo, and I played bass at that time, and which was a big help for me to acquire that bass. And we played for dances for the officers and different other, even outside of the Army we did. It was at that time it was a great city. Today I'm not sure.
Did you how long did you do that? Was it 2 years or
2 years in
2
the
years?
Army, yeah.
What was the rank like? I'm just interested.
I started out as of course PFC, and then they raised me to corporal. But right after, about 3 months after I was corporal, they changed the designations to I can't remember the name. Specialist 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And so I think I was a Spec 3 at that time.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah.
So you came back home. Did you play when you got back home any or?
Yes, I did. We as soon as I got home, there was a local band, a 17-piece band. That, of course, Crystal Beach was open at that time, and Rose Beach was open. Different ones. There were big dance halls at that time, and Jimmy Dulio was the main band. His band was the main band around here, and he needed a bass viol player, and he found out that I could play it. So I joined the union and started playing bass for him. And then about 1959, the big bands all broke up, and we all went into. As a matter of fact, Jimmy stayed with the music and had a 3 or 4, maybe a 5-piece combo, and I played with him for quite a while, and I played with different other groups also.
So the union would just call you if they needed somebody? Was that how it worked?
Yeah, but they weren't that strong, not around here. Cleveland had a stronger one, but Lorraine didn't.
And you were selling cars at the same time?
Yeah.
I want to jump back to that for a minute. Now, I talked a little bit before this. You're talking about it was the oil company over there. That picture. That's what it says on the sign on that photograph. But you were selling Chrysler products, right?
Well,
tell me how that whole thing transpired.
Okay. Going all the way back to 1938. When Dad and Uncle John bought the dealership, it was owned by Charles Jones. We called him Charlie Jones. And Charlie had the Dodge Plymouth agency at that time. And it was a satellite. At that time, they had different agency designations. And at that time, you could be a satellite dealer, and that means that in our case, DeBelco over in Lorraine was the main dealer, and then we were his satellite dealers. And I don't know what he got, $50 a car to ship them over to us, and we sold brand new Dodge Plymouths at that time. Well, then the war came, and no more cars after 1942. At the beginning of, it went all the way through 41, and at the beginning of 42, all the car manufacturers went over to building tanks and Jeeps and those types of things. So that's
That's interesting. I don't know how many people knew about that. That they had to quit making cars to turn over to the War Department and make.
the last cars we got in I can still remember in 1942 because I was 10. The last cars we got had no chrome on them, no bumpers. The bumpers were painted, I'm sorry, but no chrome bumpers on them. And they were just like taxi cabs, I guess you'd call them. And so it was interesting.
So what did they do during the war? They couldn't sell cars, so what did you have to do?
That was an interesting time for me anyhow, because Dad because he couldn't sell cars, we kept the service department going, of course, and that was our kind of a bread and butter. But we had a showroom and nothing to put into it. So being kind of an ingenious person as he was, why he started out with selling appliances and different refrigerators, stoves, and even up into 1945 when TVs first came out. If I can remember, I think that's right. We had the first TVs in Vermilion, and you had to have a real high antenna in order to get any fuzzy
Did you have one at home?
Yeah, we had one, and anyhow, so we had. He sold those. He sold milk equipment, and there was one. I still have I don't have it with me, but anyhow, I still have a receipt from a lady that bought a freezer, an upright. No, it was a freezer for food, and she paid. It was just a little one. She paid $378 for it. Today, that was a lot of money back then, and today you can buy a freezer probably for $100, or I don't know how much, but anyhow, it was a lot of money for that time.
So after the war, what happens?
After the war, we looked at Dad again. Dad looked at automobiles because that was his baby, and he got this franchise for Kaiser Frazer, and they wanted him to, after he signed a contract, they wanted him to buy all the parts and fill up our parts department. Wanted to have him pay for all the signs for Kaiser Frazer and all that, and that was a lot of money. And he said, and they didn't even guarantee when he was going to get #1 car. So he said he'd tear up the contract and forget about that. And then he heard about Tucker Company. I don't know if you all have heard Tucker Motor Division, but anyhow, it never hardly got off the ground. I guess they did make a few models, but he didn't go for that either. And then farm machinery. He did get the contract for International Harvester farm machinery, and so we had that till the end of 1948, or I mean the end of the summer, I should say, and did fairly well, but not. The problem is you only have 3 sides to Vermilion. The 4th side you can't sell to fish, so that takes care of that. So there was a lot of other things that he did do. He was trying to find his way through to make some money for the family and so forth. So one of the things right after the war started and the showroom was vacant, he started a grocery store. And at that time, my grandfather was living, Harvey Kyle, and so that gave him something to do. He could sell groceries right off of the shelf, and we didn't have any meats or anything. Everything was boxed and so forth. And I can remember one time I was about 12 years old, and Harvey wanted to go someplace for a few minutes, and he said, "Bob, why don't you take if somebody comes in, you know about how much to charge them." So after he'd gone, some fellow came in and wanted a loaf of bread, and I charged him, I think it was 10 or 12 cents. And I caught holy hell from Harvey because I didn't charge him enough. So anyhow, after the grocery store was over and didn't do too well, we had different other things in there. We had Carl Osberg. Remember Carl? Anyhow, Jenny Osberg's husband. I don't know if I'm shooting names out here that nobody knows about, but anyhow, he was a Vermilion boy, and he decided to engineer. I don't want to use engineer, but anyhow, he made a set of blocks and pins, and they put them all together, and it made different things like a locomotive, a trailer, different. I don't know if you guys ever played with them or not. Did you? Those did you? Did you?
You still have them?
You're the one that lost them all for me then. Anyhow, it was an interesting thing, and so he got together with Dad, and they put the manufacturing business right in the front showroom of the dealership, and they were carving them things and sawing them out and shipping them all over the place. And I do have a picture, but I don't have it with me, I don't think. And that was one of them. And Uncle John loved that one because he was the woodworker, and it fit right in with his specialty. Another thing he did was made a dryer, and it was a huge thing. It was probably 8 feet long and 3 feet in diameter, and it rotated like a regular clothes dryer. And he would go around picking up shop rags from the different dealerships and the gas stations in Vermilion, and wash them and charge a fee and take them back, and so that was another thing that he did, venture. What else? There was some. Oh, we had started an insulating company. That's when blown-in insulation into the sides of the house was getting popular, and we had that. And I think that's about it there.
How'd you end up with the Pontiac and the Buick?
1949, after everything else kind of fizzled out, he went to General Motors in Cleveland and got the franchise for Buick and Pontiac. We sold one 49 Pontiac, and then the rest of them were all 50 on through. Whoops.
What was it that, which did Irvy buy?
Pardon?
Which one did Irvy buy?
He bought Buicks.
So did he buy the first one?
No. Oh, you're talking about Irvy Howe. Okay. That goes back to 1938.
Oh, really? Well,
Irvin Howe, Larry, I don't know if you all know Larry Howe. He just gave a program here, as a matter of fact. But his dad was my dad's first customer. He came in with his old car and bought $1 worth of gas. And so that was interesting. And as a matter of fact, he was our customer until he passed away. I forget what year, but it was recently, wasn't it?
Well,
within 20 years ago.
Within 20, yeah.
Yeah.
Larry's almost that old now.
Not quite. I don't know how old Irvy got to be, but he was
in his late 90s.
90s?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's got me beat.
What stores and restaurants downtown do you remember when you were running around?
Before I
Go ahead.
answer that one, when we were teenagers, and I had to be over 16 because I was driving. We came down through town in my car, and we had two cops, maybe three, I don't know. Ed Benson was one. He was the chief, and then his sidekick was Joe Seka. And Joe Seka was always trying to find something to get me on. Well, anyhow, I must have been a bad boy back then. But anyhow, there was down at the corner where Rubberneck Park or Exchange Park is on between Main and Liberty. There was a car there with a flat tire around the corner on Main Street, and so being a good boy, I was trying to help him, and so I went up side of him, and right where I parked, side of his car, was a no parking zone. Well, I was right there, so I could have moved it if somebody wanted it moved. But anyhow, we were taking the old tire off. This guy had a flat tire, so we were taking the old tire off and putting on the spare tire on. And here comes Joe Seka, and he started writing me up a ticket. I said, all I'm trying to do is help this man get his tire put back on. And he kept on writing, and he gave it to me. And so I went home and told Dad, and Dad got a hold of Ed Benson, and Ed says that's okay, and he had it ripped up. So at that time you could do that. I don't think you can get away with that now, but anyhow.
You could try it. I want to jump back. I was asking about something else, but I want to go back to the station, to the dealership.
Okay.
And where it was situated. It was a strange place because you had a lot of visitors there. Do you remember any spectacular people coming around the corners?
Oh yeah, lots of them. If you don't remember where it is, and if you don't know that Decatur Street, it used to come up, if you're looking east from the west, the road used to come up along the railroad tracks, and then it would make at that corner where our dealership was, it would make a left-hand turn, and then go one block over, and where the police station is, you'd have to make the right-hand turn there. And anyhow, the road is actually, if you look at it, even today, they haven't changed it any. It beveled over towards the dealership. Well, in those days, we had Ruggles Beach dance hall, and people would go out there and have a few beers and head back home east again, and they wouldn't negotiate that corner and go right into our dealership. And we had all kinds of new bricks on the facing of that dealership. It's just in 13 years we had 14 sets of gas pumps. We had the newest gas pumps in town at all times. One time, I've got a picture of that, but I don't think I have it. Do I have that picture? I don't think
I don't
But one time, there was, well, it was more than once, but one time there was a truck full of ball can lids and rubbers, you know, those ones that in two pieces you can take them when you're canning fruit and veggies and so forth. You can take them apart. Well, they had those that they were shipping out someplace, and this truck came over, and his load went over and sprayed those boxes of can tops all over the place. And we had can tops for about probably 6 years after that, and plus maybe half of the people in Vermilion, I don't know. Another time, truck had brass. We always called them brass pigs. They were nuggets like this side that are just plain old brass. Was being shipped on a flatbed, and that fell over, and the brass nuggets went all over the place. So that was another time. There was a circus truck. What do they call it? Carnival truck. Yeah, carnival truck came around, and he rolled right over onto a 1950 Buick Riviera that had 6,000 miles on it. It was just in for its 1,000-mile. They used to have 1,000-mile checks back then, and he just in for his 1,000-mile check, and Ron Daly, he was not very happy about that.
Did those wake you up at night sometime?
Oh yeah. There was one that came through the showroom window, and it was full of it was a car carrier with Kaiser Frasers on it, cars.
See, they finally got there.
And yeah, that was just because, right? Anyhow, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I didn't hear it because I'm a sound sleeper, but somebody was rapping on the side door, and Dad went over, and this man says, "How do you shut off your water, sir?" Or he said, "Do you own this dealership side of it? And how do you shut off the water?" And Dad says, I don't know what he said, but anyhow, come to find out that the front end of his semi-tractor went right through the showroom window of the dealership. So we had another job there. It was exciting. What you used to do, because I was young and I was pumping gas at that time. Everybody, you guys couldn't pump your own gas. We had to pump it, as you probably remember. Anyhow, I was every time I pumped gas, I always had one eye to the west to see whether anybody was coming that direction. Yeah, something else.
Best thing they ever did was put that new road through there. You guys were gone by then? No.
No.
It was after that.
It was after, yeah.
Wow. Was the gas station on the corner? Was that there when you were
Yeah,
there?
the Gulf Station.
The little gas station.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask you, and I was before, about some of the other businesses up and down Liberty here that you might remember.
Okay.
Do you remember any of them?
The businesses, oh boy. I can remember Rathbun's grocery store. The White Inn was a restaurant owned by Don Engelbry at that time. George Roberts had the Shell station to the, that's right here.
Yeah, it was
here.
right there.
Yeah, there. Anyhow, and what else? There, on the east side, where Fulper's station was, just to the east of it, there was the Vermilion Bank, but banking company, and now it's the Vault, isn't it?
Wine
it's
Vault.
called the Wine Vault.
Yep.
Yeah, and that just about closed. I forget what year that closed, but it was.
It was closed either during or just after the Depression.
Okay. It was closed when we came to town, so that's 38.
Yeah, actually what they actually did was merge with the Erie
Okay.
County Bank, yeah.
And Erie County Bank was on the corner where the city offices are. Let's see, on the other side, where the olive place is, there was Sporty Maynard's ice cream place, and also he sold magazines and all kinds of stuff. All of us boys, anyhow, we all had a turn at delivering papers and magazines and all that, and Sporty Maynard was the man. And if he wanted to do something real nice for you, he would give you a small 5-cent cone, and it was really small. He was not tight, but he was close.
That's how you make money.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. But let's see. Then of course Hart's Drugstore, the building's still there, and at that time we had over in Rubberneck Park. I still call it that. Exchange Park. We had the men's and women's restrooms. And then it was changed into the police station.
I think it was a Chamber of Commerce even after that.
Was it chamber?
at
Yeah,
one
it
time,
was.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And on Main Street, there was a couple of attorneys' offices. Harold Stutz had one, and Bill Callahan had the other one. And there was a dry goods store, Engelbre's dry goods store, and let's see, who was the hardware was down on
There was Miller and there was a
Scud Miller.
Scud Miller.
Scud Miller's, and he also had the license for liquor license clear at the back.
in a cage.
In
a cage.
Yeah, in a cage. That's right. And so, yeah, I've got another story about, and I don't know the whole thing, so I won't start other than mentioning it. And that's A.D. Baumhart's drugstore was down there close to where the chocolate shop is, Brummer's Chocolate. And he's got a whole story in himself, and on himself, and that's an interesting story. Anybody wants to hear it, why, I've got it on paper. So I got his actually it's his autobiography right on paper in his own printing, and it's hard to read, but I hope I copied it all right. What do you have?
Okay. Of all the people you've known in Vermilion, who left some impressions on you? Big impressions.
Big impressions? Oh boy. I know there's so many of them. I don't
It's
know.
hard to do.
Yeah. F.E. Baker was, he was the Ford dealer where the convenience store is was, and another store in there. But he was a good man. Uh, let's see. I I never thought.
Did you know AD at all? Do you remember him?
Yeah. There's a
Little
story about AD that I can tell, and that's during the war. AD made a deal with us school kids. At that time, you had to pick up all kinds of metal and different things that can be molded into tanks and guns and whatever. And so everybody was, not everybody, but a lot of people in town was collecting metal, and over on the west side of the school on South Street, they were starting to pile up scrap metal. And so A.D. Baumhart challenged us kids and said that if you get this pile this high, I don't know how high, it's a lot of years gone by, but anyhow, I'll treat you guys to a big ice cream cone. And we had that piled quite high at that time.
I have a picture of it.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
I'll be darned. I'm not lying then.
I'm not.
I'll be damned.
No, you're not lying.
You gotta watch used car dealers.
We are. What organizations do you belong to now?
Right now, let's see. I belong to this organization, and I've been a Rotarian ever since 1964, and I was long time ago. I was on the board at the Chamber of Commerce. I was, for a short time, I was a Lion, and
We thought you were lying when you came up.
yeah, that's right. I knew that would come up.
Drum roll.
There was some more. I can't think of them all.
Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, lots of them.
Name two.
You don't have time for more. Oh, it is 8 o'clock, isn't it? Okay. But anyhow, for a while there, I liked to make wine. I've made different kinds of wine. Some of them not good, some of them pretty good, real good, as a matter of fact. I like to work with wood, making fine. I've got some tables made out of cherry wood, and I make those. I've made beds out of different. Watch it. That's no joke, but anyhow. And music is. I like music.
You're still playing.
Yeah, I play for the Vermilion Concert Band. And what else? There's got to be some more. Wait a minute.
You collect cars.
No, I don't collect cars. That's one thing, we had all the machinery and the tools and everything to go into either antique cars or sports cars or hot cars, and none of us boys liked that, so we just kept selling them.
Well, I'm going to end this, but I want to do two things. Do you have anything else you want to impart to these folks here tonight?
I can't think of anything. I was writing. I think we said just about everything on here.
Well, I want to mention to you that he's got photographs and a few other things up here that you might want to take a look at before you leave. And thanks a lot, Bob. It's very interesting. Glad to have you.